Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mel. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing my content, for liking it, for subscribing. Massively appreciate it. All right, so I've had some emails come in and wanting me to expand more about the idealization phase. And in particular, I was asked about whether it's a red flag when someone is idealizing you. Should this be a deterrent to developing a relationship with this person? Is it a bad thing to be idealized? Should I put up barriers now because I've been idealized and then devalued, discarded, replaced by my BPD ex, by my narcissistic ex? Because you've been caught up in this trap before with someone personality disordered, does this mean now that future relationships, when my partner or potential partner is really idealizing me, is this a bad thing? So I'm going to try and address all of this. As usual, do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right, let's get started. I want to start off and say that it's not just limited to people with BPD or personality disorders. To be idealizing someone is something that is so frequent and happens from so many people, okay? It's not just people with BPD. In my experience, in my observations, it tends to be people who have lower levels of self-esteem, low levels of self-worth and value, who tend to project their inner gold onto other people. What I mean by inner gold is your brilliance, the gold within you. And because of a traumatic childhood, maybe you were shamed, ridiculed, criticized. It wasn't safe for you to step into your life, step into your light. Maybe, just maybe, it felt safer for you to hide yourself. Maybe you stepping into your light and being brilliant evoked a lot of envy from others. And when this comes from family members in particular, it often causes us to go within, to retreat, to hide ourselves, to put ourselves down, to make ourselves seem smaller so that other people can be more secure within themselves. And this is something I relate to in particular. I very much got into a habit of putting myself down, of hiding myself, not really showing others the full extent of my talents, not believing in myself. I did all of this so that I could feel safe, so that other women wouldn't be attacking me. I believed that I was the reason why people weren't feeling or being weird around me, when people were being envious, being jealous. I believe it's because of me. I'm doing something wrong here. And so as such, I wouldn't believe in myself. I came to believe that other people's perceptions of me were real, more real than my own perceptions of me. And often we see someone who maybe holds that aspect of ourselves that we just haven't met within ourselves. For example, someone who is very confident, someone who is putting themselves out there with their business, someone who is successful, someone who's popular, someone who's very attractive. Whatever it is, it's quite easy to then elevate these people, to put them on a pedestal, to idealize them. So it makes sense that someone with lower sense of value or self-worth, and they come into your life, and they see your brilliance, they see your beauty, they see your kind nature, they see your talents, they see the potential in you. Whether or not you can see it within yourself, they see it. Does that make it a bad thing then to be idealized, to be elevated? No, it's not a bad thing. However, there is a danger in becoming attached to it, to be actively seeking it out. Because when we form an attachment to it, it becomes our identity. I want to be around this person because they see that side of me that other people haven't really mirrored to me in the past. No one's validated this side of me, and here I have this person who is seeing that and saying all these amazing things about me and thinks I'm amazing. It's easy to get attached to that when you haven't had much of that in your past. But there is a danger in becoming attached to other people's opinions of yourself. It should all come within you. When we start to get attached to someone else's opinions, it means that we're more likely to take it seriously when they start to devalue us. If they start to devalue us, There is a big, big danger in seeking validation, seeking approval from someone else, because it's on shaky grounds. That person can change their mind for whatever reason, regardless of if they have BPD, if they're personality disordered or not. People change their minds. Does that mean that you have changed? So look, it's not a bad thing if you're being idealized. What I would say is trust in your own instincts if you think this is a red flag or not. If you're on this channel, it's more than likely that you've had a relationship or you're still in a relationship with someone who is personality disordered. And it is a massive red flag for sure when someone's a covert narc, when someone's highly, highly narcissistic and they're trying to butter you up. And they seek out people who have low levels of self-esteem, who are more likely to listen and believe and latch onto it. And they know that they have you in their pocket now, and well, that's when it all starts to change. So for you, how can you tell if this is actually a red flag for someone personality disordered? And is this a red flag if someone isn't personality disordered? Is this going to mean that it's going to be a bad relationship? There are some things that you can do to check out these assumptions. The first thing is to discuss it with your potential partner. There is no shame in actually having a real conversation and saying, look, I'm experiencing you as putting me on a bit of a pedestal. Like, why is that? Get into a conversation, get into dialogue and see what comes up. How they react is going to be more telling about whether this is a red flag or not. Someone who has ulterior motives is going to act a bit weird when you ask this question, or might get angry, or might give you, I don't know, reasons and excuses and then disappear. Someone who perhaps is personality disordered, maybe someone who has BPD might be a bit triggered by this. Ultimately, you want to be able to have these conversations with someone and for them to be able to answer you back authentically. At least if they say, look, I don't know why I do this. You know, someone who you can actually have an honest conversation, someone who is not going to bite your head off when you try and ask them about projections. Okay, so it's easier when we are actually looking at our own projections and doing our own shadow work. What do I mean by this? Think about people who really wind you up and people who you really admire. And that gives us a clue about what it is that they hold for us that we haven't integrated within ourselves yet. If it's someone who really, really winds you up, someone you really dislike, even though you don't really know them, what is it about them? What is it? Really dig deep into your own shadows here, because ultimately when we've made peace with us, within ourselves, when we're doing our shadow work, when we're integrating those aspects of ourselves that we have split off from the past, when we're bringing it back in, you have to do shadow work. And this entails looking at projections, taking back our projections. Someone who is willing to talk about this with you is someone who is better idea to date, all right? Someone who is unwilling to acknowledge that they project onto others is a big red flag. Someone who is willing to admit, yeah, actually I do have some projections. That's a big step forward, acknowledging that. Projections are largely unconscious. To make them conscious is a big step towards personal healing, towards inner growth, unfolding into our potential. This needs to happen. My other advice is to slow it down. People with a personality disorder often like to jump into things. They don't really understand healthy boundaries. Tend to be a bit of a rush. It tends to be very intense. So if you think that this is a red flag, them idolizing you, putting you on a pedestal, slow it down a bit. Okay, they may want to see you all the time. Don't. Say, look, I'm busy around these times. I can see you once, maybe twice a week. Limit the phone calls. Have it on your terms. I also recommend showing them all sides of yourself. I'm not talking about unnecessarily being nasty to them and showing your, like, your dickish side. No, I meant, you know, if they're constantly, like, admiring, like, oh, you look so good, you look so good, you look amazing, well, turn up maybe in, like, your comfies, no makeup on, you know, just don't shave. Just show the aspects of yourself that you would normally wait until months down the line. Yeah, show them your lazy side. Show them the aspects of yourself that is you, that is real. Don't be scared to show the not so lovely sides of you. Is there shame in you actually showing all of yourself? Are you identified? Are you attached to the positive things that they see in you? It's okay, you know, we're human. We're not all meant to be perfect, not all meant to be light. We're meant to be integrated beings. And that is having a darker side as well as a lighter side, but being conscious of it all. Don't be afraid to check out your assumptions. Don't be afraid to discuss your fears with this new person that you're seeing. It may seem like it's a bit much at the beginning. However, it's a really good habit to get into. If you're feeling uncomfortable, to be able to share this with your partner. And a great way to start it is, look, I experience you as put me on a bit of a pedestal. You know, what's that about? Is there something that perhaps you're projecting onto me? Share with them why you feel this is uncomfortable for you. You know, I was in a previous relationship with someone who did butter me up and then discarded me, and it really hurts. And now when someone does the same now, it leaves me questioning. So with that in mind, is there a big resistance within you to say this to this new partner? This could actually mean that this person is dangerous to talk to. Or is this your own fear that's coming from your own edges, as I like to call it? I don't like to say issues, I like to say we've got edges. Is this your own fear that when you share your vulnerability with someone, that you will be ridiculed, you'll be laughed, you'll be shamed, you'll be embarrassed because this happened in the past? I'm not talking about your past relationship with your personality disordered ex. No. I mean, back in the day with your family. Is this reminiscent of your childhood? Because this can be a great corrective emotional experience for yourself if you can just open up with this new person in your life. Share with them that you feel uncomfortable, that you're being elevated like this, and then see what they've got to say. Someone who is very deeply traumatized, who isn't able to do their own shadow work, someone who's not able to look at their own projections, they will likely get massively triggered when you say this. Again, that's a bit of a red flag as well, because if at this early stage you can't talk openly with someone without them getting triggered, not really a good sign. Okay, so you know what? We all get triggered. All of us have our triggers, even those of us who are healthy neurotics. But to be able to admit that, to say, look, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I want to find out more. I want to grow. Okay, why am I doing? They're willing to look, even though it's painful. They admit it's painful. Intention and willingness counts for a lot. So that's my biggest advice personally, to check out your assumptions, to share with this new person in your life. If they obviously mean a lot to you, that's why they're in your life. And if it's someone who doesn't mean anything to you really, why are you keeping people around who are elevating you if you're not really interested in developing this friendship, this romance? Do you not realize that perhaps they are becoming a supply source for yourself? All right. And look, there's no need to feel ashamed for admitting this. If your history is that you've never had someone validate to you just how brilliant you are, it's okay to admit that you've latched onto people who did mirror this to you, who did validate this for you. But there is a danger in this, okay? Because when that source goes, then what's going to happen? Do you think you'll be left feeling amazing? Or do you think you'll be wanting to find another person who showers you with idealization, someone who elevates you? The key is to find it within yourself. All right, everything is within you. You don't need external validation to realize who you are. It helps, don't get me wrong. It's why I say surround yourself with people who aren't treating you like crap. And likewise, you don't want people who are just constantly surrounding you and always telling you you're great, you're great, you're amazing. You want people who can keep it real. People who see the greatness in you and also aren't afraid to challenge you a little bit. And those who aren't constantly triggered when you give it back. Doing some shadow work is the most important thing. Taking back our projections, both good and bad, however you want to see it. It's all within you. It starts within you. When you can come from a place where you are starting to better integrate your shadow, starting to see the brilliance within you that other people haven't in the past, then it's easier to question people, why are you elevating me so much? It's easier to show all the sides of ourselves to someone without fear that they will leave us because we're not being good enough for them. Ultimately, it entails you having to modify your own beliefs, how you talk to yourself, your own thoughts. It all starts with changing your thoughts, and this starts with you, not with anyone else. To not get too attached to what other people believe you to be. To not get attached to seeking out validation, to trust that this may pass. In any relationship, it's normal to start out when both you and the partner are putting each other on a pedestal a bit. It's normal. And then as time goes on and we get to know the other person more, we see all of their sides, then they come off the pedestal a bit and it's okay. We're no longer just people admiring, looking up. We see people as equals. And isn't that ideally what we want in a relationship? I know for myself that I am happiest in a relationship when I am my partner's co-regent. I do not want a servant who is looking up to me and thinking I'm amazing. And I do not want an abuser who is forever looking down on me and punishing me. And that applies to friendships as well as personal relationships. I want someone who can look me in the eye and see me as their equal, and I want the same as well. So these are just my thoughts. Do let me know what you think. Know that I also offer counselling if you're having difficulties, if you're caught up in the idealization, devaluation, rejection, replacement stages of a BPD relationship. If you have been idealized and then just discarded by someone who was like dangerously narcissistic, know that I can help. Do reach out to me. My email address is melanieprsvp@gmail.com. All right, well, I'm going to leave it there. Have an awesome day, everyone, and bye-bye for now.